Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting full stack project development in React and Spring Boot. In this project, we're going to create a Ghibli art image generator with Ghibli AI. Yes, you heard it right. A few weeks ago, these Ghibli images were all over the internet and everybody creating these Ghibli images and everybody loved it. In fact, I have created so many images and I have enjoyed the complete process. And in this project, we're going to exactly do the same thing. We're going to create our own application and we will upload the image and we're going to turn our image into a Ghibli art images. Also, we will provide the text prompt, and based on the text prompt, we are going to create the Ghibli images. To do that, we're going to use the stability API and that will help us to generate the Ghibli images. Regarding the tech stack, we're going to use the React in the front end and we will use Spring Boot in the back end. And we will use Tailwind CSS for add styling to the React application. This is going to be a fun and interesting project. You will learn a lot of things and you will completely enjoy the project because these Ghibli images were loved by everyone, and definitely by the end of this project you will love too, and also you will create amazing Ghibli images using this application. Trust me. Alright, without wasting any more time, let's get started. Before that, first let's look at the complete application demo. Alright, the application is started on the port localhost 5173 and this is our landing page. At the very first, you will notice the logo, the Ghibli AI with a logo, and we have this menu bar which having the menu items: home, create, features, gallery, FAQ, and in the right hand side we have the create button. Next we have the hero section which contains the call to action button, try Ghibli AI, and we have a nice text: transform your photos into Ghibli art with Ghibli AI. And we have a subtitle as well, and clicking on this it will take us to the create section. We will come back to this later, but for now, if you scroll down, you will see the Ghibli AI features that it provides: high accuracy Ghibli art generation, fast image processing, stunning Studio Ghibli quality. We will add the features as well. Next, we have the beautiful gallery section where you will see how the people are creating the Ghibli images using our application. Next, we have the photo to Ghibli art where we will tell how we can create the Ghibli images by uploading the image or by providing the text prompt. Next, we have the FAQ section followed by the call to action button and the footer section. Awesome. This website looks stunning. Trust me. Next, we have this create section and we have also features, gallery, FAQ, so on and so forth. The interesting part is the create part. Let's go to the create part. You will notice two things. One is photo to art and text to art. The photo to art where we will upload the image and we are going to add the text. Then we are going to click on this transform to Ghibli art. It will turn our image into a Ghibli art image. Next, we have this text to art where we will provide the text prompt and it is going to also, we are going to select the Ghibli style. It is going to create the Ghibli image for us. Perfect. Let's look at the text to art first. So I'm going to select the Ghibli style as comic book. There are multiple Ghibli styles available. Okay, I'm just added 4 or 5, that is analog film, anima, and anime, and cinematic, comic book, digital art. So let's stick to the comic book and I'm going to add the prompt. Okay, just to save some time, I have already copied the prompt. I'm going to just add the prompt here. Okay, so let's first read the prompt. In a warmly lit Ghibli style room with the wooden panels, soft carpets and books stacked on a desk, a man sits peacefully in front of the studio microphone. He wears headphones and a cozy sweater, speaking gently as a cup of tea steams beside him. The room glows, so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time on reading all this text, but this is the prompt that I'm going to adding it to the application. So now I have selected the Ghibli style as well. By clicking on this generate Ghibli art, it is going to generate the Ghibli image for us, right? Let's click on this. It will take few seconds and we should able to see the Ghibli art image. Boom, you can see. Of course, this is not the best Ghibli image for now, because you have to learn, you have to try multiple prompts to generate the best in best images. Okay, I have tried my best to generate the Ghibli image. Of course, you can take a help of ChatGPT or Gemini to create the better images for better results, right? And once you generate the Ghibli image, you can see there are two action buttons. One is download and create another. Clicking on this download, it is going to download the image. Just click on this and we got the image. Perfect. Next, we have the option create another. Okay, clicking on this, it is going to clear the state and it is going to help us to create one more art or one more image. Next, we have this photo to art. This is also an interesting. Let's look at how it is going to perform. I'm going to select the image, clicking on this browse files. Let me select the image. I'm going to upload my image and I'm going to provide the text. Turn this image into Ghibli Studio art with anime style, right? You can add a prompt however you want. Now clicking on this, it is going to generate the Ghibli image on the right hand side. So hit the button, we should see the Ghibli art that is going to generate. I don't know how it looks, but let's see. Just wait for a few seconds and boom, you can see this is how it looks. As I said before, of course, this is not the best image generator because we have using the stability API and we have to try multiple times to enter the proper prompt to convert this into a proper Ghibli image. But as of now, I'm happy with this and it produces a great result. This is now looks good. Later we can improvise this and we can find the perfect prompt to generate the perfect image. Alright, again clicking on this, it is going to download the image and it is going to create we can create a new Ghibli image. Awesome. So this is the project that we are going to create. I know this is a very small project, but you will learn a lot of things. You will learn how you can use the stability API to generate the APIs to create the Ghibli images, and we will learn the Spring Boot, how we can call an external APIs from the Spring Boot application, and how you can design and create this beautiful website using Tailwind CSS and React. Alright, I'm so excited to teach you all the knowledge that I have gained in this project. Let's start creating the React project. I have opened the web browser. The very first step is to create the Spring Boot project. Open the start.spring.io. This is the Spring Initializer website. On this website, we can create the Spring Boot project. The very first step is we need to enter the project metadata details, the project type, language, and the Spring Boot version, and the artifact ID and group ID. We are going to select the project type as Maven, the language Java, and the Spring Boot version. At the time of this recording, the latest and stable version is 3.5.0. Try to avoid the snapshot versions and other versions because these are not the stable versions. The group ID, I will enter the group ID. Feel free to change the group ID. Artifact ID, Ghibli API, and package name, I keep the default name, and packaging jar, the Java version I have installed 21. We're going to add just 3 dependency. The web dependency we are going to add. Next, we're going to add Lombok and also DevTools. We're going to add one more dependency, that is nothing but the Fine client, because we wanted to make an API to the stability API. Open Fine. Just add these 4 dependencies and click on this generate. This will download the zip file. Just extract this and open this project inside your IDE. You can use STS IDE or even you can use Visual Studio Code, Eclipse or IntelliJ IDEA. I will use IntelliJ IDEA. I'm going to open this project inside the IntelliJ IDEA. Okay, I have opened the project inside the IntelliJ IDEA, and this is the project structure. The very first step is we need to configure our application.properties file. Inside the application.properties file, we are going to add the API key and the base URL for the stability API. To do that, first we need to create an account inside our stability API. Let's go to the browser and just search for platform.stability.ai and go ahead and create the account. I have already created account in this website, which is platform.stability.ai. And once you create the account, you can click on this your profile icon and you will see this options, API keys, account, billing, and inside this API keys, go ahead and create an API key. I have already created the API key, and this is my API key. And if you go to the billing section, you will see the credits. Initially, when you create the account, they will create us 25 points. That is more than enough for creating or testing these Ghibli APIs. I have already used some of the credits, that's why it is 7.8 in my case. But if you created it very first time, you will see the credits 25. If you want more credits, you can just buy for $10. You will get around 1000 credits. That is more than enough for your POC applications. Alright, so next we have already created this API key. I'm going to just copy this API key. Next, we need to open the IntelliJ and open the application.properties file. Let me remove this application name, expand this. We are going to add 3 properties. The very first property is to add the stability API base URL, stability.api.base URL, and this is the base URL, api.stability.ai, and this is our base URL. Next, we are going to add one more property, which is our API key. So let me add my API key. So I'm not going to add it directly inside this application or properties file. I can add it inside the environment variables. So I'm going to just add the stability API key, and this I can add it inside this. Let me go to the main class. Let's open the main class and just I'm going to start this. Let me start this application and let me stop this. Now I get this configuration. Just click on this edit configuration, and now you can see this environment variables. Just click on this and click on this plus. I will add the value. Inside this value, I will add the API key. I'm adding my API key. You can also add your API key inside this value section. And for the name, we need to add stability API key. Let me move this, and here I'm going to add stability underscore API underscore key. Click OK and apply OK. Alright, so now we have added our stability API key inside our application or properties file. We are also going to add one more property, which is fain.encode.encoder class, because we wanted to our Fain client should handle the multi-part form data properly. So for that, we're going to add this encode.encoder class, which is org.springframework.open Fain support.spring encoder. Let's save this. So I can also add the comment just for your reference why we are adding this property. This is for the Fain client configuration to handle the multi-part form data requests. Okay, so this is for our stability API key, and this is the stability API base URL. Let's save this. Now we have configured application.properties file, and also if you open the pom.xml, we can verify what all the API, the dependencies we have added. The web dependency we have added, OpenFain dependency we have added, DevTools we have added, Lombok we have added, and this starter test dependency. I can remove this. This is added by the Spring Initializer by default. And inside our test package, I'm going to delete this also. We don't need this. But inside our Lombok, I'm going to add the version 18.38 is the latest and stable version. I can also copy the same version, and inside this plugins, I'm going to add the same version. Now let's reload this. You will also notice this inside the dependency management. You will notice this OpenFain, the Spring Cloud version, and this Spring Cloud version property, the version name added inside this property section. Okay, perfect. So now our pom.xml is ready and the application.properties file is also ready. Next, we need to create the client as well as DTO and controllers. The very first step, what we need to do is open the main application class. Here we need to add the annotation, enable Fain clients, and save this. Next, I'm going to create an configuration file. I'm going to create it inside the main class, inside the main package or the base package, or even we can create it one more package called as config. Let's create a package config. Under this config package, I'm going to create a class. I'm going to call this Fain config. Inside this, first of all, I'm going to mark this class as a configuration. So because inside this, we're going to create the beans. Public encoder, Fain encoder, Fain form encoder. Let me make this as Fain form encoder. And inside this, I'm going to just return new Spring form encoder. I'm going to create a new Spring encoder. Let's create a new HTTP message converters, HTTP message converters, and to this constructor, I'm going to pass the new REST template dot get message converters. The reason why I'm going to add this encoder bin is just to handle the, if you remember, we have added the property inside our application or properties file. Let me first import this just to handle the multi-part properly. I'm going to just add the bean annotation and let me import this and save this. Okay, the reason why we created this bean is because inside our application or properties file, we have added the, let me open the application or properties file, we have added this Fain encode.encoder class, right? And the reason why we have added this to handle the multi-part form data request. And to do that, we're also going to create this bean out of it. Then it is going to handle that multi-part request properly. This is just a configuration class. You don't have to worry about it. The Spring framework will automatically manage this. All you need to do is you just need to create this bean. Next, we need to create the controllers. Before that, first let's create the DTO objects. I'm going to create a DTO package under the base package. Create a new class. This DTO class is for text to image request. Inside this I'm going to add the fields, private list of text prompt. Again, this is going to be an inner class text prompt. Text prompts, private double CFG scale. These are all the Stability AI provides the fields, or the fields that we are going to add it. We wanted to add the scale and height, width, sample, steps, style preset, everything we are going to add it here. Private int height, private int width, private int samples, and for the width I'm going to add 768, the height 5 tall, CFG scale 7. Next I'm going to add the style preset. And also I'm going to add the inner class for this text prompt, public static class text prompt, and I'm going to just remove this, and we're going to keep the text and the constructor also. We don't need this weight. Public text prompt. To this we're going to pass the text, let's create the getters, get text, and also we need the set text. So these setters and getters I'm going to add. This is for the inner class. Let me add inner class for the text prompts. Next I'm going to import this list. Okay, we have added the CFG scale, height, width, sample, and style preset also. Next I'm going to create a constructor. Text to image request constructor I'm going to create. To this we are going to pass the text and style. We need to add the text prompts as well as style preset. So we're going to accept the list of text prompt of array, and we're going to add it to the text prompts and the style preset as well. This is going to be our constructor. Next I'm also going to add the getters for the JSON serialization. So let me add getters for JSON serialization. So we need to add the list, the get prompts, and also let me add the double dot CFG scale. Okay, I'm going to add height as well, and also I'm going to add width. Next I'm going to add the samples, and also I'm going to add the style preset as well. Okay, I think we need one more field, which is steps. So let's add the one more field, private int steps. I'm going to add 30. We also need to add the getter method for the steps as well. Okay, so now we have added the getters and constructor, and also I have also created an inner class text prompt, and we have these fields. Now our text to image DTO request is ready. We can utilize this inside our controller. But before that I'm going to create one more DTO, because basically we have two things. One is image to image and the text to image. what we have created just now is text to image, and now since we also have image to image, this is for image to image actually, because the user will upload the image and he will also enter the prompt. This is for that. And also we have the text to image, so for that we are also going to create one more DTO. I'm going to call this text generation request DTO. Let me add the data annotation, private string prompt and private string style. That's it. These are the two fields that I'm going to add it inside this text generation request DTO. Okay, next what we need to do is we need to create the client. We need to create the Stability AI client. Under the base package, create a new package which is going to be client. Inside this, I'm going to create an interface that is Stability AI client. Inside this, first of all, I'm going to add the annotation Fein client, and we are going to add the client details, that is name is equal to Stability AI client, and URL, we need the base URL which is stability.api. This is actually stability.api.base URL, which we have added inside our application.properties file. Next, I'm also going to add this configuration, which is nothing but fein.config.class, which we have created. Fein.config.class, the fully qualified path name I have added here. Okay, we have added the name and URL and also the configuration. Make sure to add this URL properly, the property name. If you mistype it, then it won't work. And the name you can give anything. I have given it as Stability AI client. In fact, I'll give this as AIs. I have given it as small. Next, the configuration, the fully qualified path I have given. Okay, next inside this Stability AI client, I'm going to add the post mapping. So let's add post mapping, and I'm going to provide the value v1/generation/ we need to add the engine ID. So engine ID, and this is going to be text to image, and I will define the consumes. We are going to consume the media type application JSON value, application JSON value. Also, I'm going to add the headers. We are going to accept only image PNG. Now we can add the method, that is, this is going to return a byte array, generate image from text. I'm going to pass the request header. We need to pass the authorization token. Let's call this authorization header. Next, path variable, which is going to be our engine ID. and request body text to image request. We have already created this. We are going to utilize this request body. Perfect, that's it. Now we can call this method inside our service, and when we are calling this, we need to pass the request header, the authorization token we need to pass, and also we need to pass the engine ID, and this is what the engine ID, and the request body, which is nothing but the text to image request. Okay, we are also going to define one more for the image to image. Let me add that also. This is going to return byte array generate image from image. Let's add the post mapping. Let's pass the value /v1 / generation / engine ID image to image, and consumes media type. This is going to be an multi-part form data value, and we are going to accept the image /png, and inside this let's use the request header, authorization header, path variable engine ID, and request part we need to pass, that is going to be, I'm going to call this init image. This is going to be multi-part init image. We don't need this actually byte. Okay, sorry about this. And let's import this multi-part file. Next we need the request part. We need to get the text prompts. I will get the first text prompt, text. Let's make a use of string text prompt. We're going to bind it to the text prompt variable. Next we have one more request part, that is going to be style preset. That's it. So now we can call this method inside our service, and when we are calling this, we need to pass the authorization and engine ID and image, which is nothing but the multi-part file, and the text prompt and style preset. Okay, our API client is ready. Now we can, this is called as the declarative approach, because once we are just declaring here, which API we are calling, we are declaring it with what parameters we are going to pass and what headers we are going to pass, that we are configuring it using the Feign client. And this is the base URL that we have specified. This is the base URL that we are going to call, and for this base URL we are going to add this v1 generation and engine ID text to image, and when we call this, what all the headers and consumes, what all the informations that we are doing, that we are going to declare it here. This is called as declarative approach. Now let's create a service to call these methods. Under the base package, create the service package, create a new service, Ghibli art service. First let's add the service annotation. I'm going to inject the stability AI client. We'll also, let me actually load the API key as well. Final string API key. I'm going to create a constructor, public Ghibli art service. Stability AI client. Let's add the value annotation from Spring Framework, and I'm going to provide the property name, the application property name, stability.api.key, and we're going to bind it to the API key variable, and I'm going to add it to the private fields, the stability AI client and the API key. Now the constructor is ready. Next, I'm going to create a method. This is going to return a byte array. I'm going to call this create Ghibli art. This will accept the multi-part file, image and prompt. And inside this, first I'm going to frame the request body. So we need the final prompt. I'll get the prompt from the user, and for that I'm going to append a few more text so that our Ghibli image will be generated even better. The prompt, and I'm going to add the text in the beautiful detailed, let me add in the beautiful detailed anima style of Studio Ghibli. Next, I'm going to add the engine ID, stable diffusion v16. This is the engine ID. This information you will get it from the documentation. I will show you where you can read this documentation. Next, we have the style preset anima. I'm going to add. There are different style preset available. You can explore it. Let me show you the documentation. If you click on this documentation and stable image, if you go there and if you scroll down, you will see this generate documentation, and you can see the base URL, and also you can see what are the parameters you need to pass: the prompt, strength, aspect ratio, negative prompt, seed, output format. You can take your time and you can read all this. There is a great documentation. And coming to the engines, you can see this, there is a engines option. You can click on this, and if you want to see what all the list of engines available, you can use this API. You can just copy this. Okay, you can copy this and you can add this endpoint from your Postman. All you need to do is we need to pass this pairer token in the API key, and it will shows all the engines which are available. If I would have there in my Postman, I would have shown you, but I have removed it. Okay, it is not there. I have deleted it. I have used the API to view the list of the engines. You can also take this CURL and you can try it out on your own. You will get the list of engines. What I can do is I can just show you that as well. Just click on this and open a new request, and we need to add the base URL. As I said before, the base URL I have already added in my application or properties file. Let me grab that as well. This is the base URL. Copy this, go to the Postman, and we need to pass the authorization in the headers. Authorization bearer, we need the API key. To get the API key, I'll just go here and inside the environment variables, I will copy this and I will add the API key and click send. You will get the engines that are available. You can see we have this stable diffusion XL, this is extra large, and similarly we have this stable diffusion V16, and this is the one that we are going to use as the engine ID. So like this, you have to read this documentation and you have to understand it. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to open the IntelliJ pack, and inside this service, let's go back to our service, and we are framing this final part, engine ID, and also the style preset. Next, what we need to do is we also need to, let me make use of the client, the stability AI client, which we have injected at the top. I'm going to call the method which is generate image from image, and to this we need to pass the API key, bearer plus API key. I'm going to concatenate. Next, we need to pass the engine ID. We also need to pass the image, which is nothing but the multipart, and final prompt and style preset. Perfect. And save this. I'm going to just return this. So this is going to return the byte array. Okay, now we have this service method is ready for the image to image. Similarly, we have the text to image. So let's create the service method for that also. Public, this is going to return a byte array. This is going to be a create Ghibli art from text, and to this we are going to pass the prompt and the style. Next, I'm going to frame the final prompt. So the prompt plus in the beautiful detailed anima style of a Studio Ghibli, and I will also add the style preset. We don't need this engine ID. I can engine ID. Okay, let's keep the engine ID also. For this also we need the engine ID. String style preset, that is going to be style dot equals if the style is general, then I am going to add the anima style dot replace, otherwise we are going to replace this underscore with a hyphen. Perfect, we have this style preset. Next, we need to frame the object, that is text to image request. Let me call this request payload, new text to image request, and to this we are going to pass the final prompt and the style preset. After that, we are going to just make use of this stability AI client to call the method which is generate image from the text, and to this we are going to pass the bearer token and the engine ID and request payload. This is going to be request payload, and save this. That's it. Now we have these methods available, the service methods. We can call these service methods inside our controller. Let's open the project explorer. Under the base package, create a new package, controller, create a new class, generation controller. Let's add the annotation, that is REST controller, and also I'm going to add the request mapping. /API/v1. I will also add the cross origin, so that from the React application we can make an API call. Origins, I can add the multiple origins or the host name. Localhost 5173 and 127.0.0.1 5173. Both are localhost only, but this is just the IP address and this is the localhost, the host name. Next, I will also add the one more annotation, which is required arts constructor. I'm going to inject the service, which is private final Ghibli art service. Let's create the method public. This is going to return a response entity of type byte array. Generate Ghibli art. Request param. We need to pass the image, multi-part file image. Next, request param. Prompt, the text prompt, which is nothing but, and inside this I'm going to use the try catch block just to handle any exceptions. I'm going to make use of the service Ghibli art service to call the create Ghibli art method. To this I'm going to pass the multi-part image and the text prompt. This is going to return a byte array. I can call this image bytes. Now we can make use of the response entity to call the OK and content type, media type dot image png dot body image bytes. I'm going to return this and I'm going to catch the exception if any error occurs. I'll just print the stack trace for the debugging purpose and response entity dot internal server error dot build and save this. I can mark this as post mapping. Generate. I'm also going to pass one more attribute, that is producers, and I will use media type dot image png value, image png value I'm going to use. Alright, now we have created this endpoint. Hope you are clear on this endpoint. What we are doing, we are just creating this endpoint slash generate. Basically the base URL, the URL is slash API slash v1 slash generate, and to this generate we are going to pass the image and the prompt. The image is, which is a multi-part file, and the text prompt, and inside this we are going to call the service method, which is create Ghibli art, and for that we are going to pass the image and the text prompt. Inside this service what we are doing is we are preparing the final prompt. We will accept the user text prompt, and for that we are going to also append few more characters or few more text to beautifully to make it even better, the Ghibli art. We are going to add this text, or we are going to append this text. Next we are going to prepare the engine ID. We are going to specify the engine ID, to which engine ID we are making an API call, and we will also add the style preset. There are bunch of presets available. You can read it in the documentation. And we're going to add the anima preset. Next, we're going to make use of the client, the stability AI client, which we have declared it inside the client package. We are going to call the method which is generate image from image, and to this we are going to pass the bearer key and with the API key and the engine ID, image, final prompt and style preset. Similarly, we have this create Ghibli art from the text as well, and to this we are going to pass the prompt and style. So to call this to call this service method, let's create the API endpoint. Let's open the generation controller, and here I'm going to create a handler method public response entity of type byte array, generate Ghibli art from text, and we are going to accept the request body, and we are going to bind it to text generation request DTO. This is going to be a request DTO, and inside this let's use the try catch block. Inside the try block, I am going to make use of the service Ghibli art service dot create Ghibli art from text. To this I can pass the request DTO dot get prompt and request DTO dot get style, and this is going to return a byte array. I can call this image bytes. Let's use the response entity dot OK content type media type dot image PNG body image bytes. I can return this, and exception, if any exception occurs we can catch that exception. I'll just, for the debugging purpose, I'll print this stack trace and response entity internal server dot build, and we need to add the mapping URL, the post mapping, generate from text produces media type dot image PNG value. Let's save this. Alright, now we have created the controller, and also we have created the handler methods to call the service method. The service method will internally call the clients which we have declared it. Alright, next all we need to do is we have to create the React application. We have to consume these API endpoints. In order to call those API endpoints, the backend API endpoints, we need to create the React project, and from the React project we need to make an API call. But here is the thing, since we are creating this React application, that is completely, most of the part is just a static part. If you look at the demo at the beginning, the things which we have created, the landing page, the FAQ section and the features, gallery, all those parts are just the static part. The only dynamic part is, only the functional part is the create part. Just to save some time, I have already created the project and I have already attached the project in the description section of this video. What you need to do is just go ahead and download the project. The create part is not yet developed. I mean, the functionality is not yet completed. That we are going to do it now. I have already downloaded the source code, and once you download the source code, you will get this zip file. What you need to do is you just need to extract this, and if you extract this, you will get this folder, Ghibli art generator. Let's open this inside our WebStorm, or you can use the Visual Studio Code as well. Let me open the WebStorm, and I'm going to open the Ghibli art generator. And the first thing what we need to do is we need to install the npm dependencies. So just open the terminal and just click on this run npm install, or you can type the command as well, and this will install all the necessary dependencies, and we get this node modules as well. Once we get this node modules, first let's see what do we get inside the browser. I'm going to run the application, npm run dev. The application is started on 5173. Open the browser and go to localhost 5173. Okay, this is 5173. Okay, boom, we got this landing page. Okay, we have the menu bar and the hero section and the feature section, the gallery section and the FAQ section and the call to action button with the followed by the footer. Everything is already built into this. The only thing is the create part. The create part is also built in, but on click of this buttons, nothing will happen. Similarly, if you go to the text to art and clicking on this button, nothing will work because we have not completed the functionality. We have just created the UI part. Okay, so just go ahead and download this source code, and once you download the source code, just install the npm dependencies. You will get this beautiful landing page for the UI. And with this, now we can start adding the functionalities. We can call the APIs and we can complete our task. Okay, the very first part is we need to disable this button. Okay, because the user has come to this part, photo to art, and it should be disabled. It should be enabled only when the user is uploaded the image. Same thing is true with text to art as well. We have to disable this button when the user navigate to the text to art section, and we have to enable this button when the user types something on this text box or the text area. To do this, what we can do is, first let's work on this text to art part, then we can come back to this photo to art. Open the component text to image section. I have created a few states: prompt, is loading, error, style, generated image. The prompt initial state will be empty string. For the is loading, it will be false. Now we can use these two variables to get the boolean result. I'm going to use the is loading or prompt.trim. If the prompt.trim is not present, I can get the value. I'm going to call this is create disabled. Now if you look at this is loading, initially it will be false, and then the second expression will be executed. Prompt.trim, if it is not present, initially this will not be present and this becomes true, and if this becomes true, the entire expression becomes true, and is create disabled will be true. And this exactly result we are going to use it inside this button. So if you have this button, and I'm going to use the disabled property, and for this we're going to use the is create disabled. Now when we have to enable this, okay, any one of this condition becomes true, and when this condition will becomes, this is loading will be true whenever we are making an API call, when the button is clicked on that. But this we can make it to true when the user types something on the text area. So to do that, we can attach the onChange event for this text area. I'm going to use the onChange, and we can get the value using the first of all, I'm going to use the updater function to set the update. Set prompt e.target.value, we get the value, and also I'm going to attach the value attribute, and to this we're going to use the prompt. Now let's save this, and now if I go to the browser, this is going to be disabled, and it is disabled. And also this prompt onChange, I'll set this to e.target.value. Let me reload this. Okay, and if I go to the text to art, it is enabled. Ideally it should have been disabled. Is loading, is create disabled, is loading, or prompt.trim. Okay, this is going to be a function. Okay, so let's save this, and you can see now the button has been disabled, right? And we have to enable this when the user is type something on this text area. I'm going to type something, and you can see the button is enabled. Perfect. Now we have enable and disable the button based upon some conditions. Perfect. Next, what we need to do is I'm going to create a function. Let's create the function. I'm going to call this const handle generate. This is going to be an asynchronous function. Inside this, first of all, I'm going to add the condition. This is going to be, okay, this is actually async. Okay. And now inside this, I'm going to write the if condition. First of all, we need to validate few things. So let's write the if condition. If prompt.trim, if it is not present, we need to set the error. I'm going to use the set error state, and I'm going to set the error message. Please enter a description for your artwork, and I'm going to return it. Let's save this. Perfect. Now we can call this function inside our button. So to this button, let's attach the onClick event handle generate and save this. And now the user will enter the text, and clicking on this, we are going to call the handle generate function. Inside this, we need to make the API call. First of all, I'm going to set few states. Set is loading, I'll set this to true, and set error, I'll set this to null. Next, I can just prepare the payload. Payload is equal to, we need the prompt as well as style. Okay, and if you look at this, the style part, if you scroll down, you can see this. We have created this reusable component Ghibli style dropdown, and we are setting the style by attaching the onChange event, and we get the dropdown value, and we are going to update the state, which is the update the style. Now we are going to just use that style, prompt and style. We are going to pass it to the payload. Next, I'm going to make use of the try catch block. Inside the try block, I'm going to define the URL. API underscore URL is equal to http:// localhost 8080/API/v1/ generate from text. This is the endpoint, and let's verify it. Let's go to our IntelliJ, and you can see /API/v1, we have this generate and generate from text. So we need to make an API call to this generate from text, and this is the URL endpoint. Of course, you can move this to the environment variables, but I'm going to just keep it simple. Now we need to make use of the fetch API. Of course, we can also use the Axios, but since we just need to make an API call for the two endpoints, let's use the browser's fetch API, fetch, and we can pass the API URL, and we need to define the options. Method, it is going to be a post method. Headers, we can pass the headers, which is going to be a content type, application/JSON, and body. Body, we have to first convert that into a stringify, json.stringify, and the payload, and save this. Also, I'm going to get the response, const response, and we can use the condition if the response.ok. If it is not present, we can set the error, and we can throw an exception. Const error text is equal to response.text. Response.text, we need to attach the await, because this is going to return a promise. Response.text, and once we get the error text, we can throw the exception, throw new error, and to this we can pass the text network response was not okay. Status, we can use the variable, but I'm going to make use of the template literal so that we can use the variable inside this template literal. Response dot status, and we can attach the message also. Message, it is going to be error text, and save this. And after we get the response, if this response is not okay, we are going to throw this exception. But if the response is okay, then we need to convert the response into a blob. Response dot blob, and it is also returning a promise. So let's use the await const result blob, and I am going to update the state set generated image. We can use the URL create object method, URL create object URL. To this we can pass the result blob, and in case of any exceptions we can log the error. Console dot error generating image from text, and I can attach the error object as well. And also I'm going to update the state set error failed to generate image. Please ensure the backend is running and check the console. Some meaningful message you can add. And finally we will use the finally block to update the loader. Set is loading. I'll set this to false. Let's save this. Alright, so now we are making an API call to the backend Spring Boot server, and the Spring Boot server will make an API call to the stability AI. Perfect, we can test this, but before that what I will do is I'm also going to create two more functions so that we can test it all together. I'm going to create one more function to download the image, the result image. Const handle download. This is going to be an arrow function, and inside this I'm going to just make use of the document dot create element, and I'm going to pass the anchor tag, and this is going to give us the anchor tag attribute or the HTML element. I'm going to call this as link. Next I can use this link dot href is equal to, I'll set the generate image as the result. The result image I'm going to set it to the href attribute. Next I'm going to also attach the download property. Link dot download is equal to, I can provide the image name Ghibli art, and I'll just attach the date. So date dot now, so that every time when we download we get a unique file name. So .png, I'm going to attach the .png. Now we can use the document dot body and append child, and we are going to attach the link attribute, the link HTML element. And finally I will add the link dot click. It will automatically click that link, which is nothing but the document, the anchor tag. And next we are going to call the document dot body and remove child. We need to remove that child after we click on that link button. Okay, so because if we keep it every time when we call that button, the link will be keep on adding. We wanted to remove that child, so that is why we are going to remove it. Alright, this is for downloading the image. Next we are going to create one more function to update the state. Whenever the user click on the create another button, we have to reset the state. So for that, handle create another, inside this set generated image, I'll set this to null. Next, set prompt empty string, set style general, set error, I'll set this to null. Let's save this. Now we have these two functions. Let's attach the on click events for the buttons, which is the download button and the create another button. Here I'll add the on click event, and for this on click event handle download function we're going to call. Similarly for the create another button, on click handle generate another, this function we are going to call. Let us save this. Now we completed the functionality. All we need to do is we need to test our functionality. Before we testing it, I will just I made one small mistake. So if you look at this, we are making a call to the we are using the fetch API, but I am not here. This is going to return the promise. I'm not using the await keyword. So let's use the await keyword. And now let's save this. Let's go back to our browser and we need to add the prompt. So just to save some time, I have already taken the prompt from the ChatGPT, because adding the prompt is very important. I hope you guys practice it more and try to provide the more accurate prompt so that it will generate the perfect image for us. In my case, I'm just don't waste any more time. I'll just copy the prompt from the ChatGPT and I'll paste it here. And this is the prompt. I will not read this also, but you can also use the same prompt. I drop a link in the description section of this video, or you can just ask for the ChatGPT to provide a prompt for generating the Ghibli art for which you want to create. I want to create the Ghibli art where the user is or the student is sitting in the room in a cool place and he is speaking in the mic. That is what my target prompt is. And I have asked the ChatGPT. ChatGPT has given this nice prompt, and you can select the Ghibli style. I'll go ahead and select this as comic book. And with this, if I click on this, before that we can verify whether the backend is running or not. Okay, the backend is running, and let's actually go ahead and click on this generate Ghibli art, and it is loading. Let's wait for, okay, yeah, this is how we got the Ghibli art. And as I said before, the user is sitting on the mic, but this is more like this is not looks like a mic, studio mic. Instead it looks like more of a lamp. But yeah, I think you got the way how we can generate it. You just need to add the prompt, and it is based on that it is going to generate the Ghibli art. I know this is not a very good or a very beautiful Ghibli image. As I said before, we have to keep adding the prompts and we have to learn the tricks so that it will generate the best out of Ghibli images. Okay, now we have to test these things like create another and download. I'm just going to click on this download, and you can see it is downloading the Ghibli art, and this is how it looks. Okay, and next we need to clicking on this. It should generate the new, okay, it is going to reset the state, and clicking before that and clicking on this create another. Okay, you can see it resets the Ghibli state. It resets the complete state. We can add another prompt and we can generate the image. Perfect. So now we have completed this text to art, and next we can concentrate on this photo to art. The very first step is to disable this button. Let's open the file which is photo to image section. Let's open this, and we have created a few states just like how we created the states in text to image section. Uploaded image, uploaded file, generated image, prompt, loading, error, and we have the reference to the DOM. I'm going to use the variable is loading and also this uploaded file. Initially this uploaded file state is null and is loading state is false. And our button, which is this button, transform to Ghibli art, this we have to make this disable initially. Of course, we cannot use the is loading because this is false. We need a variable which is true. In our case, we can use this uploaded file. This uploaded file is null. We can add the expression which is not uploaded file. Okay, I am going to use the const is create disabled is equal to is loading or not uploaded file. Okay, if the user is not uploading a file, we are going to disable the button, because in this case this is false and this uploaded file is false, but since we have added the not operator, this becomes true and this entire expression will becomes true, and we can use this is create disabled to disable the button. I'll just add the disabled property which is create disabled. Let's save this, and if I open the browser, you can see now this button is disabled. But when we have to enable this button, when the user uploaded the image, at the time we have to enable this. So let's say suppose when the user click on this browse files, it will open up the file explorer. We have to select the file, and once we added the file, we have to enable this. So the next step is to clicking on this browse files, we have to open up the file explorer. Let's go back to the file, and first of all what I'll do is I'm going to create a function which is const on browse click is equal to, this is going to be an arrow function, and I will make use of this file input reference dot current dot click. And next we can reference this, we can use this input ref to reference the input box. So let me scroll down. Where is our text box? Okay, here is our text box. I'm going to use the ref keyword to reference the file input ref, and I'm also going to attach the on change event, and we can use the handle file change function to set the file e.target.files. We are going to get the 0th index file, and we need to call this function. And before that, I'm also going to attach the on click event for this button on click, which is on browse click. Now let's save this. Next, what we need to do is we need to create that function which is handle file change. So at the top, I'm going to create the same function which is const handle file change, and we will pass the file. And inside this, first of all what I'll do is I'm going to write the if condition. If the file is present and the file type is starts with image, then we are going to set the states. So I'm going to update the states. So set uploaded file, I'll set this to file, and set uploaded image, I'll use the URL create object URL to pass the file so that we can see the preview of the image. Next, set generated image, I'll set this to null. Set error, I'll set this to null. Else I am going to set the error. I'll just update this state. Please upload a valid image. Please upload a valid image file. set uploaded image, I'll set this to null. Set uploaded file, I'll set this to null. I'll just update the states and save this. Next, actually what we need to do is, if I look at the input text box, we have this input text box here. I'm adding the ref and on change. Along with this, we will also need to add one more attribute. That's it. Okay, we have already added this, which is accept image. Okay, looks good. And the type is file type. Perfect. With this, now let me save this. And if I go to the browser, clicking on this browse files button, it should open the file explorer, and I can select the image whichever I want to convert this into a Ghibli image. Okay, and this is how it looks. And now since we have added the image, you can see the button has been enabled. Perfect. The next thing is, on clicking off this, we have to make an API call and we have to turn this image into a Ghibli image, and we have to display the result in here. Also, if the user can add any of the details in this text box, we have to capture that text also. Let's go back to the file, and here I'm going to create a function. It is going to be const handle generate, much like how we created the function in the same text to image section. This is going to be an asynchronous function. Inside this, I'm going to just add the simple validation. If the uploaded file is not present, I'm going to set the error. Please upload an image first. Something, a meaningful message we can add, and I'm going to return this. So I'll just stop the execution. If the uploaded file is present, I'll just set the is loading to true. Is error, I'll set this to null. I can use the form data is equal to new form data, and I'll use the form data dot append. We're going to append the image, because if I open the backend service, scroll down, you can see we have added this image, right? We have to use the same request part, that is image, and here I'll pass the uploaded file. The next prompt, so form data dot append, we will pass the prompt. This is going to be prompt. Next, I'll just use the try catch block. Inside the catch block, we can catch the exceptions in case of any errors. Within the try block, I'll just define the URL, API URL. As I said before, we can move this API URL into our environment variables, but I'm just keeping it simple. The URL is http localhost 8080/API/v1/generate. That's it. Because if I open the backend service, you can see we have this endpoint which is generate. Perfect. Once we define the URL, next I can use the fetch API, and I can pass the API URL, and the method, it is going to be a post method, and body, I'll pass the form data. That's it. And this is going to return promise. I can use await. We get the response, and once we get the response, I can check the condition. If the response is not okay, I can I can throw an exception. So let's use the response.text. This is also returning a promise. I can use the await and const error text. I will just create this variable, and I can throw the error. Let's use the template literal so that I can concatenate I can use the variable, network response was not okay, the status, the response dot status, and the message error text. Perfect. The IntelliJ idea just add the shows the intelligence so that we can fill the required content. Perfect. Next, I'll just use the response in case if the response is okay, if the response is correct, or if the response is success, I'll just convert that into a blob. So let's call the response dot blob. This will also return response. I can use await const result blob, and then once we get this result blob, we can update the state, set generated image. We can use the URL create object to set the image. In case of any error, we can catch the error inside this catch block. So console dot error, let's add the text error generating image. Let's pass the error, and also I'll update the state, set error, fail to generate the image. Please ensure that the backend is running and check the console. This looks good. Finally, the finally block we can add set is loading. I'll set this to false. Perfect. Let's save this. Now we just created this function, but we need to call this function. Scroll down. We have this transforming and transfer to a Ghibli art button. Here I'll just add the onClick event. To this we can attach the function handle generate. Let's save this. Before we test this, also we have these two buttons, the download button and the create another. Much like previously we have added the same code, we are going to add it here. Let's go to the text to image section, copy the functions handle download, just copy this and paste it here. At the top I'll paste it. In this handle download there is no changes at all. I can just what is this error? Handle download is assigned a value but never, okay, this is never used. Of course we haven't used, let's use it. Here I can use the onClick event to call the function handle download. Okay, perfect. Now we should not see any errors. Okay, duplicate code fragment. Okay, this is fine. The code is duplicated. I know we have added it in two places. That's fine. We can ignore that warning. Next, we need to create one more function, which is handle create another. Okay, to do that, I'll just add the onClick event handle create another. Now we can just create this arrow function handle create another, and inside this we need to first update the uploaded image and uploaded file. I'll set this to null, set uploaded image, I'll set this to null. Next, generated image, this also I'm going to set this to null. Set prompt, I'm going to set this to an empty string. Set prompt empty string. Next, set error, I'll set this to null. Lot of states are present, so set error, I'll set this to null. Next, I'll just add the if condition, and I'll just use the file input reference dot current, and if this becomes true, and I'm going to set the current value to empty string. current dot value, I'll set this to empty string. Perfect. Now let's save this. And with this, now we can test our functionality. Generated image. Okay, everything looks good. Perfect. And let's save this. Let's go to our browser, and we need to, clicking on this, we need to make an API to the backend service. So before that, I'll just go ahead and refresh this so that we can test it properly. Okay, I'll just click on this browse files and select the image and click open, and I'll just provide the prompt. Even without giving the prompt, it will produce the result. So for now, I'll just add the text, turn this image into Ghibli Studio Art, and yeah, that's it. And let's see how it is going to then how it produces the result. I'm just going to click on this button, and it will take few seconds to produce the result. And there you go. Okay, this is not a great image. Okay, so it depends upon how it is going to how you are going to provide the prompt. Based on that, it is going to produce the image. But as I said before, we have to keep on trying, and we have to do the trial and error. Then we will get a good image. Let's go ahead and download this. Clicking on this download, it is going to download this image, and you can see. And also clicking on this create another, it will reset the state, and we can try for other images. So let's go ahead and try one more time. Select this and click open, and this time I'm going to slightly make some more changes. Turn this image into Ghibli Studio Anima with Anima cartoon, and yeah, that's it. As I said before, you have to keep on trying with different keywords and the presets, then we will get the best in best results. I'll just go ahead and click on this button again, and let's see how it will look. And there you go. This time it's much better than the previous one. I think this is looks great, and I'll just go ahead and click on this download, and it will be downloaded. Now I'm just go ahead and click on this create another, and it will reset the state. With this, we have completed this entire project. I know this is a very small project, but I think you guys have learned so many things. How we can use the Stability AI API to turn our images into a Ghibli art images. We have seen how we can turn our image into a Ghibli art image, and also by providing the text, how we can turn the images into a Ghibli art. As I said before, it's more like a trial and error. You have to learn the things, you have to learn the techniques, how we can create a beautiful art images. Then only you can able to produce a good result images. Yeah, that's it. I hope you guys learned something out of this video, and feel free to drop your comments in the comment section. I will answer your questions, and also I could not cover entire project by creating the UI and everything, because these are all just the static content. I don't want spend too much of time on creating these UI components. In case if you're looking for the source code, as I said before, the link will be given in the description section. Just go ahead and download the source code, and also create this project and upload it on the cloud hosting providers. I would love to see your work. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.